everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing well. Today we're going to be reading the fifth book in the series. So I am working on kind of finishing my series or getting caught up in them. I made a video about this a couple weeks ago, but I have quite a few series that I'm reading at the moment and I'm trying to finish some of them or at least get up to date because the author keeps writing more and I'm falling further and further behind. So in the process of kind of looking through my series, I've made a series tracker and I realised that I have these three series that I'm on the fifth book. So I thought it'd be kind of a fun video to round them all up and read the fifth book in 3 different series. So let's get into it. So the first book I read was Murder at the Matterhorn by T.A. Williams. This is the fifth book in the Armstrong and Oscar Cozy Mystery series, where we follow Dan, who is a retired Met police officer who has moved to Italy. He and his dog Oscar kind of fall into solving crimes. So I read a couple of his books in videos before because I was up to like book 3 I think and he has 9 out. So I'm trying to get through these. So I apologise if this gets a bit repetitive, but I love this series as I always do. The setting is always fun being in Italy, and then Dan is quite a fun character because he's got this kind of previous knowledge from being at the Met, which I think is kind of unusual because I don't really see a lot of kind of retired police officers solving these kind of cozy mysteries, so I've enjoyed that aspect of this series. And then as well, I always love watching kind of an English character, especially a like middle-aged male English character, kind of interacting with foreign countries and especially European countries, because there's kind of like a rivalry between the cultures and it's just a lot of fun. So this book follows Dan and Oscar going to investigate kind of a suspicious death at a UFO conference kind of thing. So one of Dan's old friends from the Met Police has a daughter who is at this like UFO retreat where all these ufologists, which apparently is the term, are waiting to see some aliens, and a death happens and this guy is really worried about his daughter and he knows Dan's kind of in the area, so he asked Dan if he could go check it out, and naturally Dan goes over and solves her case. Unfortunately, this is my least favourite of the series so far. I gave this a 3-star. I think a lot of it had to do with the UFO alien stuff because I'm just not an alien person, so I didn't love that. But as well, I think I just don't love as well when he goes away. I think it's fun to see him kind of in his element in Tuscany. And then as well, I was excited because he's got like a new partner, which is his police friend in Italy's wife. And I was kind of excited to see them kind of start working together, but we didn't get that this time because he went away to solve this murder. So, and as well, he was away from his girlfriend, who's like a fun character as well. So it was a new cast of characters and the cast of characters was great. I didn't love it. I still am going to continue with the series. I still love, like, it was still enjoyable, but it wasn't my favourite. I will say, as I always do about this, please listen to the audiobook. The audiobook is fantastic, it's narrated so well, and I mean, not only does he just get the Italian pronunciations correct, which is just helpful, because I sit there like looking at the page, it's like, I don't know what that says, but as well, it's handy to kind of hear the different voices, and he does all the accents very well, so I always find it very immersive, and I really enjoy the audiobooks. The next book I read was The Hound of the Baskervilles by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. This is the 5th in the kind of complete works of Sherlock Holmes. So I'm trying to make my way through them because as a lover of mystery, it seems only right to kind of read back to the originals of the genre, if you will. So it was a lot of fun to kind of revisit this world. I have not read a Sherlock Holmes novel in ages, I want to say over a year, so I was pretty excited to delve back into this world. As well, I have been reading like the short story collection, so I loved getting to read a Sherlock Holmes novel again, a full-length mystery where we can kind of take our time, let everything unfold. So I will say I love Sherlock Holmes retellings. I actually made a video a couple of weeks ago with reading different Sherlock Holmes retellings, but I also love shows, and I was introduced to those before I started reading kind of the original texts, so for me it's a lot of fun to find little snippets of names or plots or places that have been taken from the original text and put into these retellings. It's like a little Easter egg anytime I find some of those because it's just funny going, oh, that's also from the original text. So in this one, there was a couple of character names which were included in one of my favourite Sherlock Holmes retellings shows. I just thought that was so fun and so random because it's not even from the same story, it's just they use the same names. I just think it's so fun and it's such a nice little nod to the original stories, and like you wouldn't know unless you read the original, so it's a lot of fun for me to spot those little Easter eggs. So obviously this is a pretty famous book, but if you don't know, we are following the Baskerville family, who are kind of like upper class. They have this estate and they have this curse where this hound, who is like man-eating, he's giant, he hunts down the members of the Baskervilles. So it started off like years and years and years ago, and it's been passed down through their family. And then there is another, like the most recent Baskerville is killed by this, and so we're seeing the next kind of generation coming in, and he is going to Sherlock for help to protect him from this curse. So it was quite a fun one because we don't often see like supernatural elements. So the whole time you're kind of like, you don't know if it's supernatural or not. Sherlock obviously doesn't believe it's supernatural, but there's no real other explanation. John is trying to kind of, make sure that he's looking at it logically, but even he can't really place it. And then all the locals are very swept up in kind of the fantastical element of it. And then it's also fun because we're seeing John and Sherlock separate for most of it. Sherlock is in London and John goes to the manor with the newest Baskerville. So it's pretty fun seeing that, and then as well we get to read like John's letters to Sherlock updating him on the case. So that's pretty fun. But I always love these where Sherlock is kind of protecting a client. Like he's not solving a murder, he's just got a client who's in danger who needs his help. And Sherlock's kind of trying to unravel the mystery while keeping him safe. Because almost always Sherlock kind of throws him to the wolves and uses him as bait, which is not the best way to handle professional clients, but it's always funny to see that happen, and for the clients kind of lose faith in Holmes for a bit, when Holmes is like, yeah, I'm off, just gonna leave you in danger, but obviously he never lets them get harmed. But I really enjoyed this one. It was a bit spooky. I'd say it's kind of the most spooky, or it's definitely not like scary or anything, but it tries to be a bit spooky and scary, which I think is fun because we don't really see that very often, and especially, as I said, I've been reading a lot of the short stories, so watching this kind of have time to develop the suspense and the kind of scary elements was really cool. It was really great because it had a lot of twists and turns, which I think most Sherlock Holmes books do, but I always enjoy those, kind of pulling up the different threads and seeing how they all weave together, but you're kind of following like 8 different storylines and threads and stuff, which is a lot of fun, and then they usually come together in the end, which is also enjoyable to see how that, works itself out. I will say it was a little bit predictable with the ending, but I think that's my fault because obviously this is kind of an original mystery and I've been reading mystery for a while now, so I think it's on me that I just kind of see these things coming. But overall, this was a 4.5 stars for me. I really, really enjoyed it, and I was very happy to get back to the world of Sherlock Holmes. The last book I read was A Cornish Recipe for Murder by Fiona Leitch. This is the 5th book in the Noza Parkia mystery series. So this series follows Jodie, who is a single mum who has been living with her daughter in London. She is a police officer, actually, from the Met, so a bit like Dan. And she was living in London, but one day she kind of encountered a really dangerous situation, as you would in London as a police officer, and her daughter was terrified, so she didn't want to put her daughter through that and have her daughter worrying about it that much. So she took her daughter and they moved back to Cornwall, which is where her mum lives and where she grew up. So she kind of reconnected with her roots and she started a catering business. So she has been living back in Cornwall, catering for different various events, and then there's usually a murder or a mystery that arises and she has to get involved with. As well, her father passed away, but he was like the chief of police in this town. So she knows all the cops, she's kind of in with them a bit, so she's always kind of falling into the mysteries, and her nickname is Nosy because she always pokes her nose and stuff. So since day one, she has been kind of butting heads with the new detective in town who's been transferred from a different area. And they kind of have a fun bit of chemistry, and she's always trying to insert herself, and he obviously doesn't want that because police procedure and whatnot, but she has this kind of insider knowledge that he can't pass up, so eventually they kind of team up. So they actually just got together at the end of the last book, which is pretty exciting. There was a bit of a love triangle going on for a while, but I am excited to see her kind of settled in with the police officer, and they're getting a bit more serious, which is fun. So in this particular book, there's kind of a Great British Bake Off knockoff that has come to their town. So she is competing in this baking competition and there is a murder. So obviously her boyfriend gets called in, he's kind of working the case, and then she keeps slipping away to kind of figure out what's going on. So I always love a kind of Great British Bake Off murder mystery mix. I've read one other one which was pretty good, but this was really great. This was kind of everything I wanted from the other one, because the other one, the minute the murder happened, they kind of wrapped up the competition and stopped with all that. which is what any sensible person would do. But that's not what we're here for. We want the competition to continue as there's a murder and you're having to balance both because you're also an amateur detective, okay? That's what we want. We don't want to be realistic. Her and her boyfriend are kind of getting a bit more serious. She's dealing with that with her daughter, and it's always a heartwarming story. It's nice seeing Jodie kind of having a good man in her life and for him to get along so well with her daughter. It's fun to see Jodie and the detective working together because this is the first mystery they've solved since they've been together. So he kind of lets her in on it a lot more, and he's kind of like flirting with her while he's having to interview her and stuff like that. So that was really fun. Again, definitely against every police procedure in the book, but it was a lot of fun to see that. And then as well, they kept it very close to the Great British Bake Off, which I love. So it was a lot of fun reading that, and there were still really interesting kind of elements of the baking in there. And then as well, actually, each book there's always recipes because Jodie cooks, so it was cool kind of seeing that woven into the story this time. A little spoiler for the ending, Jodie kind of becomes an auxiliary police officer for the local force, and that was so much fun. It was just, she's so happy to kind of be back on the force, and I really enjoyed seeing that kind of full circle moment for her, and this means that she and Nathan Nathan's her boyfriend, kind of work together and solve these mysteries in a more official sense, which I think is really fun. This has been my favourite one, I think, so far of the series, so this was a 5-star for me, but I always love this series. It is so cozy, and it's just so heartwarming, and the kind of slow, cozy mystery, solving murders in a little English village. As you can tell, my reading taste is very broad. It's just all English murder mysteries. But I love them, what can I say? Alright guys, that is it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, consider hitting like or subscribe for more content like this. Leave me a comment down below letting me know what your favourite kind of cozy series is or mystery series is. And if you want to follow me on Goodreads or Bookstagram, my links are in the description below. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye!